Hello, Kindred Longevity Lifestyle Designers. This is Zach here with secretsoflongevity.com as well as martin-kilgour.com. And there's a habit that I think is incredibly beneficial for anyone to take up. And I've been doing it for many years. I've gone on and off, but in the last little while I'm actually making a really strong personal decision to continue it and be very disciplined with it. It's really just about making that decision and then following through. And this is the habit of doing affirmations on a daily basis. An affirmation is a phrase or word that you repeat to yourself, either out loud or in your mind, to emphasize a point. It can also be known as auto-suggestion. And this is to sort of input an idea into our subconscious mind to elicit a response in it. Obviously, we want to create a beneficial outcome in our life. So common things people do, you kind of hear about like the sort of cliched fridge magnets people get that says you are a beautiful being, or you know how to be this or that. And those are great, but you know, when it's an image, that's one thing, but when it's you consciously saying it, putting the emphasis on it and bringing your attention to it, it's much more powerful. By all means, surround yourself with images and words that you need to use to create the environment where you function at your best, to reach your goals and other life endeavors. Now you can also go a step further and actually use your mind to almost like imbue something with the intent of this affirmation. This gets into almost what you could call, it's almost like a prayer. You often see people or hear of people, if you're familiar with this, putting their hands over their food, for instance, and blessing it. It's kind of like a blessing. Now if you were to take a glass of water that you're drinking, or if you have a jug of water on your counter that you take water from throughout the day, and you're working with a specific affirmation, you could intend and imbue that water, because actually water has a very magnetic ability to hold intention, and you can intend for that water to have that affirmation or the qualities of that affirmation. So perhaps you want to stop biting your fingernails, and that's like an affirmation you're working with. You can put that in your water, you can bless your food with that affirmation, and whether or not there's actually something going on, if you are skeptical about this kind of thing, just taking the time to have your awareness around that is once again bringing in that affirmation to your mind, and it's just increasing the awareness of that in your subconscious, and that's the benefit towards us. This is used in psychology, affirmations, but what I'm talking about in terms of blessing something or imbuing something with the intent of an affirmation, you're really just activating that part of your mind in the same way. It's just you're externalizing it and then taking that in through other means. So the idea behind this is that if you're working with one specific affirmation, not trying to do multiple ones at once, but one at a time, and you really focus on doing this with yourself to make a change that sticks and stays and to improve yourself. And by focusing on one thing, you have a better chance of that becoming actualized. If it happens to be a really deeply ingrained bad habit, such as biting your nails that you've done since you were a child and you're now an adult and you've been doing it the whole time, yeah, there's possibly nutritional things associated with that. You could be deficient in silicone if you're trying to get extra silicone through the nails, and it's actually the body's way of trying to reserve that mineral. But aside from that, in the example of perhaps you bite your fingernails often, you could, when you wake up and when you go to sleep, also be doing the affirmations, like I said, and this should be sort of the #1 priority. And you can make sort of a mini rosary, or any size rosary, or you can buy one, or you can take a string and tie knots in it. I've just made one with beads here. As you can see, it's hemp string, purple hemp string that I put blue beads on with sort of a rose or pink bead in between a red. I don't know what, it might have started out red and then faded over time. But basically I've got 10 or 9 blue beads and then one pink bead, then a bunch of blue beads and one bead, then a comes all the way around to 50, and then there's 4 beads on the extra bit here that I had extra string on. I'm not sure if I did that on purpose. I made this a long time ago, but it's very handy as I can say I want to do 18 affirmations before going to bed. I just go to 10 and then count up to 18. It's just 2 down from 20, so it's easy to find the place. You don't have to spend your time counting all the time. And you got it, and then if you're lying in bed, because you want to be doing this at a time that's the most effective, and it's most effective when you're in an altered state, such as drifting off to sleep or right when you wake up. So these are 2 times that I highly recommend doing this practice if you want to emphasize its potency for you. Because your brain is in a more relaxed meditative state, it's easier to almost penetrate through the conscious mind into the subconscious mind with the affirmation. So you'd lie there, and I don't recommend doing too many, especially if you're doing a phrase as an affirmation. For example, if we wanted to get rid of the habit of biting our nails, and because we don't want to also have it in the negative context, because what we know from psychology is that the mind doesn't understand positive or negative. It just understands things in terms of the positive, so we know that saying, I want to stop biting my nails, it's just going to understand biting the nails. I want to bite my nails. So you want to say something like, I avoid chewing on my hands, or something like that. So avoiding isn't a negative, it's something, it's an action you can actually do. But saying no, or don't, or I don't do, anything that's a negative in terms of the vocabulary, you don't want to use that in the formulation of your affirmation. So you'd be lying there, just after you've woken up. You have this close to your bed. You can even hang it on a hook right beside your bed, or put it on a bedside table. And you do these affirmations. I'd say no more than 20. Or if it's a very long phrase, you can even do 15 or less. If it's a really simple word, like 1 or 2 words, or a 3-word phrase, you could do a little more than 20. I definitely say never over 40, because the longer you do it, the more easily it is going to be that you're going to lose your focus. And it really doesn't take much, and if you're consistent with it, that's the effectiveness, is that you're going to work with it for a certain amount of time, and that's ideally 21 days. That's the amount of time it takes to change a habit. It's said that's how long it takes to reintegrate a new habit, according to modern psychology. So by working with a set affirmation for that amount of time, and if you're doing it when you wake up, when you go to sleep, and throughout your day, in the ways I was saying, by like imbuing your food, your water, even your clothes, or anything else you're working with and you know you're taking in. You can even use it in a meditation. If you have a meditation practice, you can add that quality to the air you're breathing in. You imagine that quality getting almost like impregnated. It's an interesting term to use, but that's going into every cell in your body and changing this core foundation of your personality. If you think of the conscious mind as like the tip of an iceberg, and your subconscious is like the bottom part of the iceberg, if we let ourselves get carried away in life, and we accrue these bad habits like biting our nails, swearing, it could be bad habits with like drinking excessive alcohol or doing drugs, or anything you can think of that would be a bad thing to do for your health, for your being in this world. It's not a good thing to other people. Anything you want to change for the better, you can create an affirmation out of that and work on it, and over time you're going to shift this in yourself. You have to be diligent, you have to be disciplined. I mean, you can even create things you want in your personality, like discipline. If you're not disciplined enough, start doing affirmations on discipline. It might take a while to actually get a consistent thing going, but you start working with that, and you're going to increase that in yourself, in your, you could say, in your mental body. I don't want to say that your mind is separate from your body. I ideally would say mind, body, spirit, it's all one. But if we're, in terms of the ease as to me explaining it, if you think of your mind as a body, and this is like the bottom part of this iceberg, you want to create it in the way that you consciously desire it to be, because that's how your personality flows through into the world around you.